PubMed Central. It's a great accomplishment, and I must say it makes me proud of everyone at NCBI.
This is a celebration of the 10th anniversary of PubMed Central, a success story unto itself. From its founders to its collaborators to its public advocates, it is truly a story of achievement in science.
For those of us who were on the front lines a little over 10 years ago when PubMed Central was just a contentious idea and a small band of rebels were trying to change the way that scientists funded by the NIH did their business and publicized their work and shared it with others. The changes that have occurred over the last 10 years seem truly phenomenal.
In the last 10 years, PubMed Central has become one of the essential tools of the life sciences. It gets millions of people using it, and it's an essential resource for biomedical scientists.
It really truly does accelerate the pace of scientific discovery, fuel this kind of innovation that we all want to have, and contribute directly back to the public good.
It begins in 1998 at a San Francisco bakery called Tassajara, where over a cup of coffee, then NIH Director Harold Varmus meets with Stanford University biologist Pat Brown. Brown describes how a Los Alamos physicist, Paul Ginsberg, and his colleagues are using the Internet to share their pre-published work. Not long after that, the vision of an Internet-based system for the distribution and storage of biomedical research articles begins to take shape.
What was exposed very quickly was just how unambitious my own efforts were when it was taken over by these guys. They just did an extraordinary job of integrating tax databases.
It is simply called eBiomed, and in December of that year, scientists at the Banbury Center Genome Project Workshop at Cold Spring Harbor Laboratories embraced the concept of a global knowledge network system like eBiomed. Then, under the leadership of NCBI's Director David Lippman, eBiomed undergoes a name change to PubMed Central.
The richest information about biological function right now is really in the literature. It's not in specialized databases. It's not in some sort of mathematical framework like quantum mechanics. It's in the papers that biologists are writing, and the easiest way to learn about that is to read the papers.
PubMed Central debuts with two prestigious journals, the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences and Molecular Biology of the Cell.
In launching PubMed Central in 2000, NIH aimed to follow the successful example of the Human Genome Project and promote scientific discovery by taking advantage of opportunities created by information technology and the Internet. Development of a digital archive of biomedical journal articles was seen as a way to improve access to cutting-edge research and to provide a long-term, stable repository of the scientific literature that researchers could continue to draw on in their work, recognizing the cumulative nature of science.
Nobel Prize winner Sir Richard Roberts dubs PMC the GenBank of published literature.
This is the value of something like PubMed Central, that if you want to know what is the current state of what is going on, whether you're a scientist or whether you're a layperson or you're a kid doing a high school science project, you have access to the literature. You can see what is going on. You can find out where the cutting edge is. You can know what's going on.
At the same time, in 2000, Vitek Trach launches Biomed Central, a European publishing organization offering a host of open access titles that become part of PubMed Central. And by the summer of '01, PMC gets a further boost as notable publishers such as the European Molecular Biology Organization, Cold Spring Harbor, and the American Society for Microbiology present their journals for the rapidly growing archive. At the same time, Varmus, Brown, and a young computational biologist from UC Berkeley named Michael Eisen begin their effort to create an online open-access publishing organization that they call the Public Library of Science. Their objective is to produce high-quality, high-impact journals that will also demonstrate the benefits of open-access publishing. By 2002-2003, NCBI and the PMC team leaders amassed considerable experience in building and operating a digital repository for journal articles. And a highlight of that effort is the establishment of a structured digital format for representing journal articles known as the NLM-DTD. Developed by Jeff Beck at NCBI, the format is now utilized by the Library of Congress, the British Library, and numerous publishers submitting incoming data to PubMed Central. In 2003-2004, at the urging of the PubMed Central National Advisory Committee, NCBI and the NLM Library Operations staff embark on a major back-issue digitization program. And more than 100 libraries donate their journal copies. There is also strong support from the UK's Wellcome Trust and the Joint Information Systems Committee.
They funded a good half of the project, and Robert Kiley and his staff went out and sought publishers to contribute to PubMed Central, and they got some worthy journals, the Journal of the Royal Society of Medicine, which we ended up scanning back 191 years.
With the older journals, both U.S. and British, there is a wealth of significant biomedical literature. Past medical observations and epidemiological records have proven to be invaluable in providing insights into modern diseases.
Why is the Wellcome Trust so supportive of PubMed Central? Well, for the very obvious reason, really, that a piece of research isn't finished until it's published. And we want to make sure that the results of the research that we fund are available to as many people as possible. And that's what PubMed Central has achieved in a fantastically successful way.
With growing interest in open access, in 2005 PubMed Central becomes international, collaborating with the UK and later Canada.
The degree of cooperation between PubMed Central and UK PubMed Central, for example, has proven that that two groups of people in two countries can really work together in a way that benefits both groups of scientists, educators, researchers in both countries, and actually synergizes in a way that each benefits from the other. I think that degree of cooperation that UK PubMed Central and PubMed Central here have shown is really a model for how this open access movement can spread worldwide.
In addition, by 2005, it is also clear that the stars have begun to align in favor of public access. With congressional interest stirring, the NIH officially initiates a policy requesting that recipients of NIH funding deposit a copy of their peer-reviewed manuscripts in PubMed Central.
Most members of the public and most legislators, I think, initially think, well, of course this stuff is available to the public, and they're actually surprised to learn that it isn't.
When the NIH voluntary policy meets with tepid compliance, the U.S. Congress steps in, and with the strong support of House Appropriations Committee Chairman David Obey, the policy becomes mandatory.
And we hope that our recent requirement that NIH-funded research be made available through NCBI will get even more information out there to enhance the discovery process and the public health.
This had a dramatic effect on compliance. Of the 88,000 NIH-funded articles published in 2009, 70% have been submitted to PubMed Central, and that figure continues to grow.
We wanted it to be very fast. It only takes about 10 minutes for authors to submit files to us and then have it accepted into the system.
Remarkably, in little more than a decade, what begins as a coffee chat topic between two notable scientists evolves into a viable digital repository offering free availability of an increasingly large body of biomedical and life sciences literature.
But to look at PMC as just a repository for scientific articles is to miss the bigger picture. PMC is an integral part of a larger information infrastructure that is accelerating discovery. Articles in PMC are entry points into a vast body of biomedical information maintained by NCBI and NLM. Interpreting these data requires access to the knowledge that is embodied in scientific articles.
Despite this progress, the story is not over. The desire for access to the medical literature is stronger than ever, whether it comes from the biomedical researchers, health practitioners, medical educators, or the general public.
The fact that all the content in PubMed Central is fully crawlable and indexed by tools like Google means that you and I, our families, can just go onto PubMed Central, go onto Google and find highly relevant resources, which makes us more informed consumers for healthcare matters.
So what does this success story look like in the years to come?
Increasingly, science has become multidisciplinary. So I'm looking 10 years from now to see something that is very much broader, very much larger, probably with even better data resources associated with it than PubMed Central currently has. If you want to be a scientist, a young scientist just entering the field, you're going to have so many more resources available to you in 10 years than you have now.
PubMed Central changed everything. I mean, this is the demonstration of the way you can optimize doing science in a digital environment.
Eventually, I think all scientific literature, certainly all federally funded scientific research, will be made immediately available with no embargo period online. It will be fully searchable, fully accessible. This will happen, I hope and believe, in the not too distant future.
I think that, because of all the exciting new devices that you have for it, you're going to expect that you can just reach into your pocket and pull something out and have access to, almost anything that that has been published with the basis of taxpayer dollars.
We're delighted to have worked in partnership with PubMed Central to have established UK PubMed Central, which is now undergoing a European expansion as other European funders come on board.
It's a real privilege to work with the kind of talented, hardworking, creative folks who are part of PubMed Central. And when I'm working on other projects, when I come back and see what's been accomplished, it's just incredibly exciting. So it's a real privilege to work with them all.
When you look back on this, say 15 or 20 years from now, the sharing of these data and reports from grant-supported work will seem so obvious. People will wonder, how could they possibly do it any differently? And so anyway, many thanks to everyone present who have helped and aided and abetted and designed and probably did a little maneuvering as well to be sure that PubMed Central succeeded, and long may it wave.